What's cracking, people? Angelic Mayhem here. Welcome to Final Thoughts, my online video series where I point out the pros and cons of a brand new video game so that you can decide if this title is right for you. In this episode, I am 6 hours into a brand new video game called Jack Keane 2, The Fire Within, which just came out today on Steam. And before we begin, this game is a sequel, and you should know that I did not play Keane number 1, so I'm judging this game not as a sequel, but as its own thing. In this series, you never have to wait for my opinion. The beginning of Jack Keane 2 was fantastic, and the characters have absolutely made this game an enjoyable experience. But as I have begun to approach the middle of the game, it's starting to lose its edge. I find the graphics to be fantastic, and the story really makes me laugh. But the bugs and the loose ends in the plot are really starting to wear down my enthusiasm. But is it right for you? Well, let's find out. Jack Keane 2, The Fire Within, is a 3D point-and-click adventure title. In it, you play as Jack Keane, an Alan Quatermain-esque adventurer, who meets a mysterious shaman while incarcerated in a Chinese prison. The shaman informs Jack of a mystical treasure, but hides the specifics in Jack's subconscious mind, and then dies before he has a chance to clarify. Along the way, Jack picks up other companions who follow him into adventure and danger while looking for the shaman's treasure. His chief companion is Amanda, the Histoire d'Amour from the first game. She saves Jack from the prison and then serves as navigator aboard Jack's ship. That is until Jack meets another beautiful woman who he invites on board. This game is about fun, adventure, treasure, and self-exploration, as Jack must search not only the real world but his own consciousness and memories to find the treasure he seeks. The game tackles not only a group's quest for treasure, but also one man's battle with commitment and his own inner demons. The game was developed by Deck 13, the house that brought you not only the original Jack Keane, but also the 3D Necromancer conspiracy title Venetica, which you may or may not have played on the PS3/360. So, pros and cons. Let's talk about what I liked. The characters are fantastic. I have a genuine and deep interest in seeing how their story develops. Even the bad guys make you curious. You play the game in both a dream world and the real world of Jack Keane. Now, that may sound a little contrived, but it's done really well. Many of the plot points revolve around solving puzzles in Jack's subconscious to help him become a better person, as well as a wealthy treasure hunter. Most of the puzzles are fun and have challenging solutions, though finding the parts to fit the puzzle can be a little daunting. For instance, at the start of the game, the bone you need to get the lighter is out on the ledge below the bomber's window. That one took me about 20 minutes and was a huge pain, but things like that are a rarity. For the most part, they did a very good job. Unlike most point-and-click adventures, which require you to use mouse clicks to get around, Keane 2 lets you use WASD. Now, it's a shame that you can't re-keybind that, but it's a whole lot better than mouse clicks. The background music is, frankly, fantastic. Very adventurous, and it really sells the action-oriented side of the game. The jokes in this game are really funny. I am always looking forward to what Jack is going to say next. Some of the puzzles even contribute to the whimsy, as you sometimes have to provoke people into throwing their clothing or a piece of gorilla to solve a puzzle. The really funny stuff is the side banter between your companions. They take turns at first being at each other's throats and then helping each other out of jams. I really think the writers did a good job overall in writing believable quips to help break up the action. The tension between Jack and Amanda is well developed, and you really find yourself at times rooting for, and then at other times rooting against, their amorphous relationship. There's a fighting mechanic in which you have to select cards to determine your defensive and offensive maneuvers. All right. Now, I enjoyed this a lot, and I hope that there's more of it in the game. Every offensive maneuver has a defensive maneuver that counters it. So the key to winning any fight in this game is to remember what stops what. Your dialogue options can change the relationship standing between Jack and his companions. In fact, depending upon the choices that you make, you'll actually see little icons that pop up telling you if you have gone up or down in estimation in each of your characters. This happens most often between the two ladies who are in your crew. I am a huge fan of this game mechanic in any game, as it adds a good deal of replayability because it makes you want to play the game again, but make different choices to see what the new content would be for all the alternate choices that you get. Only one of the puzzles involving multiple components had a specific order. And if you wouldn't mind a little mini spoiler, it was when you're packing a cannon, you actually have to pack the powder in first and then the cannonball. I hate puzzle games where you have all but one component, but because that component is the first in the computer code, you can't do anything until you find it. As far as I can tell, this game has none of that. All right, so I was really just very happy about that. All right, so now let's get into what's kind of holding this game back for me. The voice acting can be brutal at times, and then fine the next. So it's a mixed bag. Often, the voices don't match the emphasis in the captions. All right. Now, this is particularly notable when Jack is doing the talking. So there's that. The camera is locked and changes location frequently as you move from one room to the other. Often, when that happens, as you're changing rooms, the WAS directions get all screwed up. So what happens is it results in several occasions where you're pressing up to move into the new area, but then you create this endless loop where as long as you hold down W, you switch back and forth between the area that you were just in and the new area. Another beef that I have with the camera is that sometimes it makes the jumping puzzles, and especially those in Jack's subconscious mind, very difficult. Even hopping on top of a crate can be 10 times more difficult than it should be because of the camera. Some of the dialogue choices end the game. Now, I don't mean that it crashes. I mean that the credits roll as a way of telling you that you made the wrong choice. I can't imagine a dumber game mechanic. At one point, you have the opportunity to send your enemy away with a worthless piece of map in exchange for many thousands of dollars that could be used to fund your quest for treasure. If you try that tactic, the game ends, because apparently Jack isn't that kind of guy. I was pissed I couldn't trick a billionaire out of a couple $100,000. That seems like something Jack would do. Hell, that's something that I would do. And since the bad guy takes the piece when he leaves anyway, and we all saw that coming, especially now because I kind of told you that it was coming, that makes it even worse. After you find the second piece of the map, the plot starts to get a little out of control. All right? There are more and more loose ends as you go along, and one considerable jump cut where you're suddenly someplace else and you get tracked down by your enemies on the other side of the earth without any explanation of how that can happen. You also are confronted with the possibility of death. And at the last second, the guy who could clearly have you killed, he just walks away. It's all very weird. But I haven't finished the game, so I can't swear that those things won't resolve themselves in the end. This game is actually quite buggy at launch. At one point, while standing on the dock, Jack disappeared, and I had to reload from a previous save. At another time, I was fooling around at the cave entrance, and I fell through the world. So I was just falling forever, and had to reload again. My final glitch was when I couldn't figure out how to kill a massive carnivorous plant. I decided to go back up to the surface using the dialogue shortcut that they provide, and the game crashed. Now, I'm sure that these things will get patched out over time. That's just how these things are, but they're only adding to my concerns. There are a series of minor physics issues that I have. So at one point, Jack stands directly behind a cannon as it's being fired, an act that should have killed him instantly. All right? At the same time, all the other people who were standing right next to him on a boat seem completely oblivious to the fact that he has just set off a piece of artillery. All right? These are some of the loose ends that I'm talking about, that start to creep up more and more in the later stages of the game. And since we're talking about it, you cannot scare bats with the flashbulb on a camera. Bats are blind. They navigate via sonar. Stuff like that bugs me. And finally, too often, the camera, when it's on one of the busty ladies of this tale, is literally pointed directly at their boobs, to the exclusion of their heads, even though they are actively speaking. Now, it's hard to say if this is a camera glitch or a creative choice, because I found another issue where a dude was speaking and the camera literally spins 360 degrees and comes back to his face for no particular reason. Any way you slice it, it's a little misogynistic. I'm just throwing that out there. So, final thoughts. Point and click puzzle games can leave a bad taste in your mouth if their interface is poorly designed or the solution to the puzzles are too obscure. So far, Jack Keane 2 has passed both of those tests. This game shot out of the gate and was well on its way to winning the race in my mind for approval. But then it started to get a little gassed in the middle. Now, I don't know if it's going to have enough to make it to the end of the race, but it has made enough of an impression on me that I want to find out. All right, I want its humor and great story and interesting characters make me want to finish this game. But is it right for you? Well, only you can decide. Hopefully, this video will give you a good understanding of what the game is all about. And if you have any questions that I didn't answer, please post them in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button or subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this in the future. I'm Angelic Mayhem, and I will see you next time.